In an era where point guards are launching 30-footers and hunting for highlights, one player has quietly been doing something revolutionary by going backwards. While everyone else chases the next evolution of basketball, Jalen Brunson has been perfecting something the NBA thought was extinct. The question isn't whether he's good enough to lead a championship run, the question is whether he just saved an entire position from becoming completely unrecognizable. Think about the last time you watched a point guard and thought, that's exactly how the position should be played. Not the flashiest player, not the most athletic freak, but someone who just understood the game at a level that made everyone around him better. That's becoming rarer than finding a decent seat at Madison Square Garden for under $200. But here's where it gets interesting. The point guard position has been through more identity crises than a teenager switching majors. We went from Magic Johnson orchestrating Showtime to Russell Westbrook collecting triple-doubles like trading cards. From Steve Nash threading impossible passes to Steph Curry launching bombs from the parking lot. Somewhere along the way, the traditional floor general became as outdated as carrying cash to a game. Every team wanted their point guard to be a scorer first, playmaker second, and maybe a leader if there was time left over. The game got faster, more athletic, more explosive. Point guards needed to be able to score from anywhere on the court because that's what analytics said won championships. Passing became secondary to putting up numbers that looked good on highlight reels. The idea of a point guard whose first instinct was to make the right play instead of the spectacular play started feeling like something from a basketball museum. But that's exactly what makes Brunson's emergence so damn fascinating. When Brunson signed with the Knicks in the summer of 2022, most people saw it as New York overpaying for a solid role player. $100 million for a guy who was the fourth option in Dallas? The criticism was immediate and brutal. Knicks fans had been burned so many times by free agent signings that felt like panic moves disguised his master plans. But Tom Thibodeau saw something that the rest of the basketball world missed. He saw a throwback to when point guards actually ran their teams instead of just playing on them. Here's what nobody expected. Brunson didn't just fit into the Knicks system, he completely transformed how they approached the game. Instead of trying to be the next great scoring point guard, he became something the NBA had almost forgotten existed. A pure floor general who made everyone around him significantly better. His first season in New York told a story that had nothing to do with individual statistics and everything to do with team transformation. The Knicks went from a team that struggled to execute in crucial moments to a squad that played with the kind of chemistry that takes most teams years to develop. The difference wasn't just in the wins and losses, it was in how they won. Brunson wasn't dropping 40-point games every night, but he was doing something far more valuable. He was making basketball look simple again, and that simplicity was absolutely lethal. But here's the kicker. While everyone was debating whether Brunson was worth his contract, he was quietly putting together the kind of season that reminded people why the point guard position was created in the first place. 24 points and 6 assists might not sound revolutionary until you realize those assists were creating the highest quality shots the Knicks had generated in decades. Every pass had purpose. Every possession had intent. This wasn't just good basketball. This was basketball the way it was meant to be played. The old-school point guard wasn't defined by athleticism or highlight reels. They were defined by their ability to see the game 3 plays ahead of everyone else on the court. They understood that their job wasn't to be the best player on the team, but to make sure the best player on the team had every opportunity to dominate. They controlled tempo like a conductor controls an orchestra, speeding up when the situation called for chaos, slowing down when precision was needed. Brunson embodies every single one of these characteristics in ways that feel almost nostalgic. His court vision isn't just about finding open teammates. It's about creating situations where teammates can succeed before they even realize they're in position to score. He reads defenses like he's got access to their playbook, finding weaknesses that most players wouldn't notice until they watched film the next day. This is basketball intelligence that can't be taught in training camps or learned from YouTube tutorials. And then there's his approach to leadership. Modern point guards often lead through spectacular individual performances. Brunson leads through making sure his teammates never have to question whether they'll get the ball in the right spot at the right time. That kind of confidence breeds confidence throughout an entire roster. When Julius Randle knows he's going to get fed in his favorite spots, when RJ Barrett knows his touches are going to come in rhythm, when role players understand their opportunities will be maximized, everything changes. The statistical story becomes even more compelling when you dig deeper than the basic numbers. Brunson's assist-to-turnover ratio tells the tale of a player who values possession like it's worth its weight in gold. His shot selection reveals someone who understands that the best shot for the team might not always be the best shot for his individual statistics. His fourth-quarter numbers show a player who gets better when the pressure increases, not because he's hunting for hero moments, but because he's creating them for whoever has the best opportunity to succeed. Here's where things get truly wild. The 2024-25 season hasn't just been about Brunson having a career year. It's been about him leading the Knicks to heights they hadn't reached in a quarter century. Those Eastern Conference Finals weren't just about talent finally coming together. They were about having a point guard who understood that playoff basketball requires a different kind of precision than the regular season. While other teams struggled with the increased intensity and tighter rotations, the Knicks thrived because their floor general knew exactly how to navigate those waters. 26 points and over 7 assists per game tells only part of the story. The complete picture includes how those assists were generated, how those points came at crucial moments, and how his presence changed the entire culture of a franchise that had been searching for an identity for decades. This wasn't just individual excellence, this was transformational leadership disguised as basketball fundamentals. When you start comparing Brunson's approach to the legendary point guards who define the position, the similarities become impossible to ignore. Think about how Isaiah Thomas controlled games for those championship Pistons teams. Not just through scoring, but through his ability to dictate pace and create opportunities that didn't exist until he made them happen. Consider how John Stockton turned the Utah Jazz into a machine that operated with clockwork precision, where everyone knew exactly what was expected and when to expect it. Magic Johnson revolutionized the position by showing that point guards could dominate games without dominating the ball. His greatest skill wasn't his individual brilliance, though that was undeniable. It was his ability to make showtime look effortless while orchestrating some of the most complex offensive schemes in basketball history. Brunson operates with that same kind of deceptive simplicity. His most impressive plays often look routine until you realize what he just accomplished. Steve Nash perfected the art of the point guard as an extension of the coach on the floor. His 2 MVP seasons weren't just about individual statistics. They were about elevating an entire team's offensive efficiency to levels that seemed mathematically impossible. Brunson brings that same kind of systematic approach to every position. He's not just running plays, he's optimizing possessions in real time based on what the defense is giving him and what his teammates need to succeed. But here's what separates Brunson from being just another good point guard trying to play old-school basketball. He's doing it in an era when the position has never been more challenging to master. Modern defenses are more sophisticated, switching schemes are more complex, and the margin for error has never been smaller. Playing traditional point guard basketball in today's NBA is like trying to conduct a symphony in the middle of a rock concert. It requires not just skill, but an almost supernatural level of focus and basketball intelligence. The impact extends beyond just the Knicks' improvement. Brunson's success has forced other teams to reconsider what they want from their point guard position. When a player who prioritizes team success over individual statistics leads his team to the conference finals, it sends a message to front offices across the league. Maybe the answer isn't always finding the next revolutionary talent. Maybe sometimes the answer is finding someone who can perfect the fundamentals that made the position legendary in the first place. Young point guards around the league are watching what Brunson has accomplished and starting to understand that there might be more than one path to greatness. You don't have to launch 15 three-pointers a game or average a triple-double to be elite. Sometimes you just have to be absolutely brilliant at making everyone around you better. That lesson is starting to resonate in ways that start to reshape how the position is taught and developed for the next generation. The championship implications of Brunson's approach can't be overlooked. Teams win titles with point guards who understand that their individual success is meaningless without team success. The Lakers won with Magic, the Pistons won with Isaiah, the Spurs won with Tony Parker controlling pace and execution. The Warriors won with Steph, but also with his willingness to move off the ball and make everyone around him better. Brunson fits perfectly into that championship point guard mold. This season proved that the old-school point guard wasn't extinct. It was just waiting for someone talented enough and confident enough to show that it could still work at the highest level. Brunson didn't just revive the traditional floor general. He proved that it might be the most effective approach for winning basketball games when executed by someone who truly understands the craft. The broader basketball world is starting to take notice. When analysts talk about what makes great teams great, Brunson's name comes up more and more often. Not because he's putting up video game numbers, but because he's demonstrating that basketball is still a team sport that rewards players who prioritize team success over individual recognition. That philosophy is becoming revolutionary simply because it's become so rare. Looking ahead, the question isn't whether Brunson will continue to be successful. The question is whether his success will inspire other point guards to embrace the traditional aspects of the position that made it so crucial to team success. If more players start prioritizing assists over scoring, team success over individual highlights, and execution over entertainment, the entire league could benefit. But that's only part of what makes this story so compelling. Brunson hasn't just succeeded by playing old-school basketball. He's succeeded by showing that old-school basketball, when executed with modern intelligence and contemporary skill, might be the most effective way to play the position. He's not just throwing back to a different era. He's proving that the best elements of that era are timeless. The truth is, Jalen Brunson didn't just revive the old-school point guard. He evolved it. He took everything that made traditional floor generals legendary and adapted it for the modern game without losing any of the essential characteristics that made those players so effective. In a league that's constantly chasing the next innovation, Brunson found something revolutionary by perfecting something fundamental. And here's the most shocking part of all. In an era when everyone said the traditional point guard was dead, Brunson proved that it was never really gone. It was just waiting for someone good enough to bring it back to life. The question now isn't whether the old-school point guard can survive in today's NBA. The question is whether today's NBA is ready for what happens when someone masters it completely.